Beyond view customization is the different view types. So each view type displays task information differently and is useful for a different thing. So the common ones are list, board, calendar, and table. So list view is the default. We've looked at that quite a bit. Board view is a Kanban style. So you move tasks through the columns to change by default the status, but you can group it differently to change different things. So for example, you can see it grouped by assignee. That's really good for visual people who want to kind of see how much work is in each stage and kind of what's going on. It can also be good for meetings to display on a big screen and give everyone a clear view of what's happening and where it's at. Calendar plots out tasks across days, and all of our time-related views will always use the due date and start date to plot when the task starts and ends on a time-related view. Then we have table. Table is very similar to list, but it displays in a spreadsheet type format. The one key thing that's useful in table view is that you can select data in a single column without selecting the whole task. You can then copy and paste that out of ClickUp. So it's really good for copying out just a section of data. The remaining views are all more specialized. So they are used less commonly, but also achieve something specific. So map view will plot out tasks on a map according to a location custom field. So you do need a location custom field in order for this to work. It can be really good though for orders or field work if tasks happen in a certain location. Then we have activity view, which collates all of the task activity for the location that this is on. So I'm currently creating these on a folder level. So this is all the activity from all the tasks inside that folder. So it could be good to keep an eye on things, but the other main purpose is to filter to just a certain type of activity. So for example, we can just see assignee changes, or we can just see assign comments, or even just assign comments to a certain person. In this case, I don't have any. Then we have box view. So box view shows the amount of tasks currently assigned to each person. So you can see here, I've got 5 that are not done, 1 that's done, the percentage of that. And we can see how many are in each stage. We can have a look at them. And in any task view, you can open tasks. So it doesn't matter what view you're using, you can always open tasks and edit them directly from there, which is a big feature of ClickUp that I really enjoy. You can also see a little graph of how much work people have, with the green amount being how much is completed. Now, this can be weighted. So currently I'm just counting the number of tasks that each person has, but we can also do it based on a time estimate. You can see here I don't have any set for these tasks. Or if you're using a sprint style workflow, you can use sprint points or a custom field as points. That needs to be a numeric custom field. Cool. Next we have Gantt, which is just a classic Gantt view. So this will plot tasks on a Gantt view according to their start date and due date as per our standard time related view, and also based on their dependencies. You can also set dependencies directly on the Gantt chart by dragging these little dots to each other. Again, you can use all of your customization. So here it's common to sort by, say, due date to get that standard Gantt flow type look. Okay, then we have mind maps. Some people really like mind maps, some people don't. In ClickUp, there's 2 types. So you can either use a blank mind map, which is just like a free-form brainstorm. So here you can add, idea, and then another idea that comes off of that. You can add children ideas. And then any one of these, you can later go into click on and create a task from it. So it's really good for the initial stage of brainstorming and figuring out what needs to be done. The other type of mind map is just a way of displaying your existing hierarchy. So here I can click on tasks. Because I'm on a folder, it's going to show me my lists, and then in my lists, all of my tasks. And you can expand out to subtasks as well. So good for if you're a visual person that works in mind maps and want to kind of get an idea of everything that needs to be done, or you could, plan new things based on this. So any one of these, you can click and create a new subtask. You can also create a new task. You click on the list, etc., etc. Okay, next up is timeline. So a timeline is very similar to a calendar in that it plots out tasks across time. The difference is it shows them on a continuum rather than on a calendar. It's also very similar to Gantt chart, but it is more flexible and particularly has custom grouping, which Gantt chart doesn't have. And then finally we have the workload view. So the workload view calculates and shows you the amount of work that each person has over time. Box View shows the total work, but Workload View shows you how much of that work is going to be done on Tuesday, how much is going to be done on Wednesday. So it's quite detailed and very useful. It does require sufficient information to be entered, and that is the assignee needs to know who's going to be doing the work, and the start date or due date. It needs to know when the work's going to be done in order to be able to plot it out correctly. Again, this can be weighted, so you could just see the total number of tasks. So here I've got 5 tasks in this day, and if I weight it by tasks, it will show me that. You can also set a capacity. So right now we have no capacity, but I'll set my daily capacity as, let's say, 4 tasks per day. So you can see this one is exactly on capacity. If I move a task over here, we can see it's got some free space, and this day has some space as well. We can also weight it by time estimate. So I need to add a time estimate. So here I can go 3 hours. That's going to start calculating that. This one is 1 hour. And it will default to a 40-hour work week, but you can change that. And again, if you're using sprints, you can use points or a custom field. This can be really good for balancing workload, particularly if things are starting to get overloaded. Let's say we have 16 hours in this task. Obviously, it's going to be way too much for this day. We might need to do this task over multiple days, or kind of assign it to 2 people, however we want to balance it out. Okay. Each one of these views is customizable, similar to how our list view was, but the options for customizing it change slightly. So for example, Gantt, Calendar, and Box don't have grouping options because they're preset. So Gantt is always grouped by the location, Calendar is always grouped by the day, and Box is always grouped by the assignee. We also have a few more view types that are not task related. So these are called page views, and they show things that are outside of task information. So we have doc views, which allows you to create basically a doc, enter in information with all your formatting, and have that accessible on this location. The next one is a chat, which allows you to have a conversation back and forth with the standard comment features, but it's located on this location, so it's not about a specific task. So this is where you might have a higher level conversation, maybe about how the process is working for this entire folder, or something perhaps unrelated. You have a conversation about this year's work retreat or whatever you need to do. Then we have embed. The embed view pulls in data from outside of ClickUp. So you might want to display a YouTube video, or a Google spreadsheet can be really good. Some of these things, depending on what settings that website have, will either allow you to embed them or not, and also allow you to interact with them in different ways or not. For example, Google services, so Google Docs and Google Sheets, will allow them to be fully editable whilst embedded in ClickUp. So you can basically have a Google Sheet displayed here and edit it as you normally would. Other ones aren't quite so friendly. Microsoft Excel, you can edit it, but you can't save it. So there's a few things like that. But really good if you want to bring in a website or something else. There's a whole bunch of options there. Anything that you can think of that you want to see whilst you're doing work in ClickUp, there's a good chance you can bring it in with an embed view. And then finally, we have a form view. And a form view allows you to create a form, which can then be shared with either people inside your company or outside your company. They can then fill in that form, and the data that they enter will become a task. So here we can add our different custom fields as questions, and we can name the question, and whatever they type into that field will be the data in that custom field. So we can say here, select category, and they'll be able to select from the different values of that drop-down custom field. Okay, so that's all the different view types. What will probably end up happening is you'll end up with a handful of different views, either a small handful or a big handful, depending on your use case. You'll have several of some types. Like for example, I have 3 different list views here, because I tend to use them a lot. And there'll probably be a number of views that you almost never use. So you probably won't use all of them, and that's fine. That's suited to your use case. So for example, I've got an order list here, and I've got a bunch of different views. So I'm only using 3 different types. I'm using list, board, and map. So first of all, I've got a kind of a default list view that just shows everything. And then I've got a list view specifically showing unpaid orders. So it's filtered to only show where the status is new, they haven't paid yet, and the information I kind of need to follow them up about that. Then I've got some for packing and sending. So for the guys doing that work, they can just see the task they need to see in order to get that work done. Here in packing, I'm grouping it by the color. so they can pack all the same color kind of at once. Then I've got a view for, I'm calling it 10 days out, and what I'm doing is filtering for any orders that were sent over 10 days ago. So basically they're ready to have an email sent to them asking them for their review. So the way I'm doing that, it's a bit trickier. So I'm doing where date done has to be set, so it is has been sent, and also the date done is not in the last 9 days, so it has to be older than 9 days. Now, my data is kind of example, so it actually wasn't created 10 days ago, so I'm seeing nothing here. Next up, I've got a board view, and this is only showing tasks that have been paid. So they're somewhere in the kind of being packed or ready to pack. So here, anyone can kind of come in and see, okay, these ones have been paid. I need to create shipping labels. Great, once I've created that, they're ready to pack. The packing team can go, okay, great, this one's ready to pack. We'll pack it, mark it as packed. And then as we kind of ship them out, we can go, okay, these ones have been sent. Cool. Then we've got a map view. This kind of groups where orders are being sent. Helpful for just analytics. It may also be helpful for kind of grouping together orders. And we're filtering this just for where the status is packed. So these ones are ready to go out. So we might also use it for kind of grouping them together. So we say, okay, we'll send this one via this courier and these other ones via a different courier. So for example, I've got a whole bunch in Australia here. So I'd send these all out with a local courier because I'm in Australia. Whereas I'd send the international ones out via most likely a different courier. So I'd probably batch that work into 2 different lots and do them separately. So it can be useful for things like that. Okay, and that's the different view types in ClickUp. Before you go, I've got something for you. After using ClickUp for a while, you'll find that it starts to get cluttered, hard to use, and things can start falling through the cracks, even if you set it up really well. And that's nobody's fault, it just happens. Cars need checkups to keep them running smoothly, and so does your ClickUp. What I have for you is the instruction manual on how. It's called the ClickUp Checkup, and it's a checklist of the things you need to do every 1 to 3 months that prevent a whole swath of issues that start cropping up after you've been using ClickUp for about a year or so, sometimes sooner. So with it is a training video where I go through each of the checks myself so you can see exactly how I do it and why. A PDF with the checklist and quick reference instructions, and finally a ClickUp task template so you can instantly import all that directly into your ClickUp, have it recur each month or quarter with the checklist ready to go. Click the link in the description to get it now and prevent the headache of having the clarity you wanted from ClickUp turn into confusion. I'll see you on the inside.